Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sattva Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Nityananda Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namostute Tapyakanchana Gaurangi Yade Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Brahmani Harikite Vanchakata Teruyascha Kripa Sindhuyevascha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhattavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
The reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Tonight we're in chapter 9, text 21. Tetam Bhuktva Swaga Lokam Visalam Kisne Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti Evam Tvayi Dharmam Anukap Prapanana Gatagatam Kama Labante. Translation. When they have enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasures and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal plane again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Report. One who is promoted to the higher planetary systems enjoys a longer duration of life and better facilities for sense enjoyment. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to the earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activity. He who has not attained perfection of knowledge, as indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmat Asyayataha, or in other words, he who fails to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, becomes baffled about achieving the ultimate goal of life, and is thus subjected to the routine of being promoted to the higher planets, and then again coming down, as if situated on a Ferris wheel, which sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down. The purport is that instead of being elevated to the spiritual world, from which there is no longer any possibility of coming down, one simply revolves in the cycle of birth and death on higher and lower planetary systems. One should meditate to the spiritual world to enjoy the eternal life full of knowledge and bliss, and never return to this miserable material existence. So this is the actual reality, but people are ignorant of it. They think this world is all in all. And to eat, drink, and be merry is the purpose of life. But then they have to, again, come down. Sometimes they may be very exalted, but then again they may be born according to their karma in a very miserly condition, miserable condition. Miserable. In one sense, it's all miserable. Because from the spiritual point of view, we have to go through life, the cycle of birth and death. Whereas in the spiritual world, there's no more cycle of birth and death. Everybody gets a spiritual body, which is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. But this is the wise person, he aspires to that position. Now, some of the other groups, they also say, yes, material world is misery. So they're like the Buddhists, they say, make it void, make everything zero. But now we have an identity, maybe false identity, but we have an identity. We think we're this body, we're old or young, American or Japanese, whatever, male or female, but at least we have some identity. They want to make everything zero. It's like a spiritual suicide if we don't adhere to the Buddhist philosophy. Nor do we adhere to the Mayavadi philosophers who say that everything is one, and that we're all like bubbles on the ocean. Then when the bubble breaks, we become one with the ocean. But that's also, we lose our identity. Better to go into the ocean and see that the aquatics are there. Spiritual life has got variety. But we get a spiritual body, we enter into the spiritual world, and the highest planet in the spiritual world is Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna resides, and where he has his pastimes with the cowherd boys, with Mother Yasoda, with the gopis. So we're aspiring for that position. And our spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, has encouraged us that yes, you can achieve that. Although it's not some cheap thing, you have to qualify. In other words, God is free. He's in everyone's heart. But we have to turn to Him seriously, and we have to try to please Him. Just like in the Battle of Kurukshetra. The one party was trying to please Krishna. The other party didn't care for Krishna. So Krishna helped those who are trying to please Him. This is our natural constitutional position. We give the example of the hand. By nature, it's meant to serve the body. It brings the food to the mouth. It can't taste the food, and it can't digest the food, but it cooperates with the whole body. Because it understands, this is my position. I'm the hand, I'm not the whole body. So we should understand our position. We're small particles of God. We have the same quality as God. But God is great and we're small. So we should use our talents or our energy, our propensities, everything for the pleasure of the Lord. We don't have to change our position, but we just have to try to put Krishna in the center. Like for eating, everybody has to eat. Like Krishna says it, but if you offer your food to me, then I accept it. So why not keep a picture of Krishna in your house? Offer your food to Krishna. Then just by eating, you can make spiritual advancement. So this bhakti marg is very simple. Anybody can take it. We don't have to be Brahmin. We don't have to be great learners of the Vedas. We just have to understand our actual position as the servant of the Lord. That we're subordinate to Him. And that if we can please Him, then our life is successful. Just like Hanuman. He wasn't born in a big, Brahmin family. He's like a monkey, right? But because he was fully devoted to Lord Rama, therefore his position is very exalted. Even now, wherever you go, in India especially, you see Hanuman temple. People are appreciating him so much. Because why? He was devoted to Lord Rama and Sita and Lakshman. He was devoted to them. He was eager to serve them. So we can also become pure devotees like Hanuman. But we have to take the process. And the beginning of the process is we get trained by somebody who knows the process. Just like if you want to be a heart surgeon, you have to go to other heart surgeons. You can't just expect that you're going to read it in a book and then learn how to do it. Of course, you have to have a desire. Most people don't have a desire. 5 minutes and then that's their limit of they can hear. They can't hear. The mind is so strong, immediately it'll pull us. No, what are you wasting your time here? You could be making money, you could be enjoying the cinema or something. But therefore, not many people come. We were in Mayapur like that, and Prabhupada was speaking in the evening like this. There were only 30 or 40 of us. Nice Bengali couple came in. Prabhupada stopped speaking, made a place for them to sit there. Like we offered this man a seat. And after, this man stayed a long time. They stood about 30 seconds. They sat down for 30 seconds, then they got up to go out. And I was thinking, boy, are they stupid? Because I was and Prabhupada was just full of joy, and he was sharing it with us. But they couldn't appreciate it. And Prabhupada commented about it. He said, they are not diyada. We learn in the second chapter of text 13, that diyada tatin. We have to become a little sober to understand our actual position. Otherwise we're thinking this mind, we're thinking with this body. And the body is saying, I can't sit here like this, I could be doing something. And so we get up and walk out. The problem in comedy like that, the problem is they're not dear. Even they come to the holy place. It's recommended you come to the holy place, you should hear from the saintly people. And Prabhupada, who could be more of a saint than Srila Prabhupada? But they couldn't say 30 seconds, then up again, and out, and then going again. This is when our predicament, that we are serving our mind as a guru. Guru says, mind says go here, we go there. Mind says go here, we go there. So we have to neglect the mind. Higher than the mind is intelligence. So we're looking for intelligent class of people who can appreciate this philosophy. That yes, this philosophy is, this world is full of misery. Who can be happy in this world? Only fools. Fools and paramahansas. Ordinary people can't be happy because they're losing. I remember thinking, I was a little philosophically inclined. Before I ever met the devotee, I was at the university, and I was sitting in the class. We had a big class at this time, it was like in an auditorium. And I remember thinking, I was listening to my heartbeat, and thinking that I only got so many heartbeats, and then it's finished. Right? Isn't that a fact? We are born, it's already planned how many minutes we're going to be on this earth, and then we have to leave. So how can we really settle in and be happy when that's always ticking behind us, dropping like an hourglass, the sand is coming through. So it's a bigger hourglass, but in one sense it's not so big, 100 years maximum, right? Like sometimes I'm in Poland and we have this, the people are very attracted to amber. It's like the sap of a tree that millions of years ago. And sometimes the insects are caught in there. And they estimate some of them like 50 million that is, years ago, that insect got caught in the amber, sap of the tree. So, what is 100 years? 50 million years ago, this thing was crawling around a tree, and he put his paw in it or whatever. Sometimes they get big spiders and things like that. And they get stuck, and then the sap pulls over them more, and then they fall in it. So we're thinking 100 years is a long time, but these creatures were there 50 million years ago. They do tests. So what is our truly 100 years? But we take it that this is all in all, and when I'm dead, so let's eat, drink, and be merry, and they run here and there. We saw in Spain also, we were going in the evening, so many people coming to the nightclubs. And just by circumstance, the next day, there was a fire in one of the nightclubs, not in Madrid, but in another city in Spain. And like 15 people died. So this is a dangerous life, eat, drink, and be merry. They don't know where they're going. But we say there's some urgency. Now you have this human form of life. Don't spoil it with animal propensity, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Therefore, Bhagavatam says, Dvipadapasu, a two-legged animal. Majority of people are just two-legged animals. They have no other business than eating and sleeping. They may do it in a very sophisticated way, but the same business is there with the dogs and the hogs. And having sex life, that's common to all animals. And then eating, sleeping, mating, and of course defending. Don't you come near me. I'll bite you, I'll sting you, so like this. Dvipadapasu. We don't want to remain two-legged animals. We should feel the urgency of this Krishna conscious movement. Prabhupada didn't have a sense of urgency. And that's a fact. And it was contagious. We also felt the need to act now, not to procrastinate. The tendency is, okay, now I'm young, I want to enjoy. Later when I'm old, then I'll take the spiritual life. But it doesn't work like that. Your habits are there. We see with older people it's more difficult to get them to change. It requires some change. Because since time immemorial, we've been putting ourselves in the center. The child is born into that condition. Immediately you give him something, goes in his mouth. They want to enjoy it. So now we have to change that false ego. Instead of putting ourselves in the center, we have to agree to put Krishna in the center. So it takes some training. And once they're old, very difficult to train. We give the example of yellow bamboo and green bamboo. The green bamboo you can bend, the yellow bamboo you can't do anything, it cracks. So people coming, they can still make some progress, but I remember when we were first coming, I joined when I was 26, and I was considered old. Most of them were 18, 19, 20, 21. I remember another time, maybe 20 years later, I was like 45 or 50, and somebody says, wow, you're the first old Hare Krishna I ever saw. Because there was young people were coming, at least in America. Now, of course, in India, other places, because it's in their blood, we have a few other people also, the parents of the devotees, some of them became very serious about Krishna consciousness. But otherwise, it's young people, mostly. Prabhupada said that students are our best customer. Young, because they're looking for something, right? The students, at least some of them, many of them go through a period of questioning. What is the meaning of life and so on. But once you get into life, you have your family, you don't think about those things anymore. I remember I spoke to a man on the street, 50-year-old man. I said, so what's your philosophy? Prabhupada said, that's a good approach sometimes. You ask them, what is your philosophy? And then when they speak nonsense, you can defeat them, try to guide them to have a better philosophy. So I asked this man, so what's your philosophy? And he stopped and thought, he said, I haven't thought about that since I was in college, 30 years ago. People don't think about it. They're just like animals, just going on with their life, eating, sleeping, enjoying, living, and suffering. But look at the opportunity we have in this human form. We can inquire. Atata Brahma Jigyasya. Atata Brahma Jigyasya. We should inquire. Not only we can, but the Vedas are saying now you must inquire. If you want to transcend this Dvipadipasa, this two-legged animal business. This is the real difference we have with the animals. We have an intelligence. We can inquire. Who am I? Why am I suffering? Who is God? What is the world? What's everything going on? What's it all about? But people don't take that gift of intelligence. Instead, they act on the mind. And the mind is always controlled by the senses. And so we remain, birth after birth. Even these smart people, even they come to the Vedas, but still, they can't see the need of transcending this world. They think they can adjust things in this world and be happy. This is 99.9% of the people. So we're very fortunate. We would be in that category also, for sure, if we didn't meet the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. But we've all connected with him, but we should take the, you can say, opportunity seriously. Don't miss this opportunity. Let's do one more verse. Text 22. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jnana parupashate tesham nitya vipayuktanam yoga shemit pahamiyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So here's Krishna declaring that he gets involved personally. For who? For those who worship me with exclusive devotion, instead of trying to make themselves happy by going to a higher planet. No, they want to make Krishna happy. This is it, really. Because we're part and parcel of Krishna. The example is given of a beautiful diamond, but it can be set with rubies or emeralds or some smaller stone to enhance the beauty. So that's our constitutional position, is to complement Krishna's beauty, to glorify him. And that means you have to keep him in the center. The diamond is in the center. But once we start it, it's easy. It's hard to give up, actually. Once you really get a taste for it, you understand. I can be happy in this Krishna conscious movement just by following, putting Krishna in the center, and then I don't have to worry about myself. Otherwise, everybody's in anxiety. What's going to happen? Will I get married? Young people are in anxiety. A lot of suicide in young people. Then all people also, they see life and then now they say it's getting worse because their body is breaking down. No more power of sex life or digestion. These are the two main pleasures, eating and sex life. So those things are being reduced, and then the future is very bleak. So if we can understand the urgency, then we can be happy even in this life. That's there, that verse is there. Somebody have a Gita? Chapter 14, text 20. Chapter 14, it discusses the modes of material nature and how to get free from it. You can read. 14:20. Krishna speaking. He says,
when the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life.
even in this life. Not have to die. That was one thing I didn't like about Christianity. They gave us the image as Christ being crucified, suffering, and they wanted us to, follow in that mood that we have to suffer for the Lord. But I think I don't want to suffer. I want to enjoy. That's natural. When we come to Krishna consciousness, they say, yes, you can enjoy, even in this life, if you get in harmony with the will of the Lord. You don't have to change your position. You can enjoy nectar even in this life. You have to present books though. Next verse is the end of the chapter. The next verse, no, the end of chapter 14:26. 27 is the end, but 26. Just read the
One
end.
who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
And the level of Brahman means Brahmabhuta Prasanna, no more hankering, no more lamentation, joyful. We can come to the level of Brahman, we can be joyful at every moment. Then we can enter into real devotional service. That verse is there, 18. You can read that also. 18:54. Brahmabhuta Prasanna. When we come to the level of Brahman,
One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state he attains pure devotional service unto me.
so this is what we're aspiring for. In the beginning we have an art and we have bad habits, and so, but gradually, with enthusiasm and patience, if we take this process, then these bad habits will be reduced, step by step. And we will be equal to everyone. In other words, we won't be envious of anyone. That's the main problem. We're here because we're envious of Krishna, and therefore we're envious of others who are more exalted than us. Why should he have such a big position? The whole, the communist movement is based on envy. Why is it Marx and Engels? Why do you have to do all the work and the capitalists get all the money? No, the whole thing is based on envy. And those who have the money, they're also, they have malice against those who are working. We won't find utopian in this world. They're trying so many ways for so many years. Even they have utopian communities, they don't work. Because we're born with this envy. We want to be in the center. And so, how can we be happy? Because we can never be in the center. Krishna is in the center. So we have to give up our envy, put Krishna in the center, and then we can be happy even in this life. So I didn't read the purport, right? But back to the original verse 9:22, this one is. Purport. One who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day. Being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. So these are the 9 paths of devotion, Shravanam, Kirtan&Lecture. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it may take a while before we come to that, but this is the potency of this process. We take it seriously and sincerely, and Krishna will help us. He's saying here, I'll carry what you lack, I'll preserve what you have. But we have to want it from our side. In other words, Krishna, he's not looking for indentured servants or some kind of slaves. He wants loving servants. Devotional service means loving service. So that's not so easy because everybody loves himself the most. But we have to learn from the spiritual master. We saw with Srila Prabhupada. He loved Krishna more than himself. And his spiritual master, because he was always sacrificing for their pleasure. And in doing that, he was very joyful because they were reciprocating with him and giving him wonderful success and spreading his movement all over the world. And Prabhupada recognized that. We read the poem the other day. It was very nice, huh? Prabhupada coming to the United States for the first time, how he felt himself very humble and unqualified, but somehow or other, Krishna, you brought me here, and please make me dance, make me dance. You be the puppet master, but this is the mood of the pure devotee. He wants to be used by Krishna. But that idea is very foreign in the material world. Nobody wants to be a servant. Everybody wants to be the master. And so many masters, and then they're quarreling, and the whole thing becomes contaminated. And it is contaminated. A little insight you can see. There's what did Prabhupada use the word? There's a pinprick on the social body. There's something wrong. Anybody with a little thoughtful will have to admit that there's something wrong. Like I went to the Guru School in Vrindavan in the 70s. The boys were there, they came out, so I asked them, they had a break, like I said, so what are you studying? We're studying history. Oh, so what did you learn in history? Oh, we learned that history is one war after the next. That's how we divide the history. There's the Korean War, the World War I, or the Spanish American War, then there's World War, then there's World War II, then there's Korean War, now there's the Ukrainian War. I mean, this is always going on. So why? There's something wrong, right? We should take an impetus from this negative condition and become more serious about Krishna consciousness, making a solution. But instead, if the 2 minutes we can, we have to go. This is our disease. We're not sober. Here we're reading, Krishna's giving us the information, how we can become perfected by it, and qualified to enter into the spiritual world. But people are not interested. But you're interested, so that's... Did I finish the whole purport?
No.
Where am I?
Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord.
I'm lost.
Personality of Godhead, you stopped.
Such activities are all especially full of spiritual potency, which make the devotee perfectly self-realized, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that desire is pure because why do we want to achieve this association? So we can serve him more intimately, more perfectly. So there Krishna lets us come into his association because our desire is pure. We want to associate with the Lord so that we can render service. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. That is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to the material condition of life. Shemi refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition of life. Okay, question? Or comments? Yes, Mother.
Maharaj, you were saying that we should always remain joyful, and sometimes we come through difficult times. So how do you remain joyful in spite of the circumstances? If you know.
No, it's not that our goal is just to become joyful. Our goal is to please Krishna. So if Krishna is really pleased with us, we will be satisfied. But it's not that there won't be difficulties. The Pandavas had to see so much difficulty. They were pure devotees. Even Bhishma was bewildered. How? The Pandavas are so close to Krishna, but they had to see so many difficulties. But we shouldn't think there won't be trouble, but we should think rather that there should be more trouble. I'm such a rascal. I've committed so many sins in this life and previous life, but Krishna has reduced that reaction. And then we can tolerate it. We have that kind of temple of acceptance, then we don't become overly bewildered by it. Even with the demons were saying, right, to, who was it that lost Rukmini? Shishupal. Yeah, and the other demons said to him, but that's our, in the material world, there's always some happiness and distress. So we should just tolerate it. Prabhupada had to see so many difficulties. I told the story, right? I asked Prabhupada, what was your most difficult time? He couldn't even talk about it. It was so severe, the kind of things he had to see. Coming to the West, no money, seasickness, heart attack, no cooperation from the God brothers. Rather, they were minimizing him, stealing his disciples. But he continues. Why? Because he was getting from above. Just like it's saying here. The Lord was reciprocating. His spiritual master was reciprocating. And so he felt, not always, without trouble, but encouraged to continue. That should be our goal. We want to accept everything favorable for Krishna consciousness, reject everything unfavorable. If there's a little difficulty along the way, we just tolerate it. Lord Chaitanya stressed on this point of toleration. I'll tell the story, like Prabhupada took sannyas, 1959. He was just after he took sannyas, he was walking on the footpath in Vrindavan, and he was knocked down by a cow. Wham! Lying on the ground. Then, get up and continue on. That we can expect. Even the pure devotees had to see. Haridas Thakur had to see something. There's going to be problems. And sometimes, because Maya is testing us. You really believe in God, or is it just some superficial thing? So she'll put us in difficulties. Bali Maharaj, so many difficulties. Every pure devotee had to go through difficulties. Dhruva Maharaj. And those difficulties, you can say, highlight the purity of the devotee. That he never wavers. Just like Subhadra. Here we have on the altar, Lady Subhadra. Her son was killed on the battlefield. Her dear most son, Abhimanyu. And on the same battlefield, Krishna and Arjuna were there. Because another part of the battlefield, but... So you would think, she would say, Krishna, you're the all-powerful Supreme Controller. You're my brother. How did you let my son be killed like that? But her faith didn't waver one bit. Therefore, we put her on the altar. You're not on there. If she renounced Krishna, I don't believe you're God, you didn't save my son, then we wouldn't think anything. Okay, we'll stop here. Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai.
Jaya
Radhadesh. Radhadesh. Hare
Iskan Chandracharya saving the whole world for Sapada Ki. Jaya Vishnugar, Pranakjaya Saraswati, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki. Guru Kalam Sarah Ki. Namacharya Shiraya Thakur Ki. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Radha Radha, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Radha Krishna Gopina, Shankar Radha Giri Goran Ki. Dam Ki, Vardam Ki, Jagannath Puri Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Vivati Ki, Gaur Kavinanda, Glory to the Islam, Glory to the Islam, Glory to the Islam, Glory to Shri Guru and Shri Who can sing the Sringarati?
Kira. No.
Namaste, Narasimha.
Hey!
Namaste, Narasimhaya. Hiranya
Bo.
Vivo!
Should I keep in the chair? Krishna boy?
It's fine. He also needs to wait.
You will sit in the chair. How are you? Yes, Michael?
Yes.
This is the invitation.
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, hey.
Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna hey.
Krishna, 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 hey.
Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rakshama!
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Lakshmana.
Hey, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Harima!
Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hariva.
Oh, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama!
Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Lakshmana.
Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Harima!
Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Hariva.
So reading Krishna book, chapter, A Crores Arrival in Vrindavan, is that it?
Yes.
There's more here. Anybody know exactly where we are?
Yes, we give a light. Akura, I'm going to bring that.
From the beginning of the chapter?
48. 48.
From beginning of the chapter?
No. I think it's 332. Akura was afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we have here, 332.
Yeah.
Okay. Akrura was afraid, however, because he had been deputed as Kamsa, the enemy of Krishna. He thought, I'm going to see Krishna as a messenger of the enemy. At the same time, he thought, Krishna is in everyone's heart as a super soul, so he must know my heart. When Lord Akrura was trusted by the enemy of Krishna, his heart was clear. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. He risked becoming Kamsa's deputy just to meet Krishna. He was certain that although he was going as a representative of Kamsa, Krishna would not accept him as an enemy. Even though I am on a sinful mission, being deputed by Kamsa, when I approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I shall stand before him with all humility and folded hands. Surely he will be pleased with my devotional attitude, and maybe he will smile lovingly and look upon me, and thereby free me from all kinds of sinful reactions. I shall then be on the platform of transcendental bliss and knowledge. Since Krishna knows my heart, certainly when I approach him, he will embrace me. Not only am I a member of the Yadav dynasty, but I am his relative and an unalloyed pure devotee. By his merciful embrace, surely my body, heart, and soul will be completely cleansed of the reaction of my past life. When our bodies touch, I will immediately stand up with folded hands, with all humility. Certainly Krishna Balaram will call me Akura, uncle, and at that time my whole life will be glorious. Unless one is recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his life cannot be successful. Any comments? I mean, that's the goal. You have to be recognized by Krishna. And Baba has made that easy, because if he's pleased with us, if he recognizes us and embraces us in the sense that maybe not physically embraces us, but embraces in our heart, then we can also be confident that we're on the right, we're in the right position as servant of Krishna. Okay? Next paragraph, who can read? The paragraph starts, it is clearly stated here.
I'll try. It is clearly stated here that the one should try to be recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead by one's service and devotion, without which the form of life is condemned. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equal to everyone. He has no friends, he has no enemies, but he is inclined to a devotee who renders him service and devotional love. The Bhagavad Gita has also declares that the Supreme Lord is responsive in proportion to the devotional service rendered by the devotee. Akura taught that Krishna was like the desire tree in the heavenly planets, which give fruits according to the desire of a worshipper. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also the source of everything. A devotee must know how to render service unto him, and thus be recognized by him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is therefore explained that one should serve both spiritual masters and Krishna simultaneously, and in that way make progress in Krishna consciousness. Service rendered to Krishna under the direction of the spiritual master is bona fide service because the spiritual master is the manifested representative of Krishna. Sri Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur says that when one satisfies the spiritual master, he satisfies the Supreme Lord. It is exactly like service in government office. One has to work under the supervision of the departmental head. If the supervisors of the department is satisfied with the service of the particular person, a promotion and increase in pay will automatically come.
I'd like to make a comment. It says in the beginning of the paragraph, we didn't like the one, you can't hear me? Or it's going online? Here, in the beginning of the paragraph, it's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of God is equal to everyone. He has no friends and no enemies. Where is that verse? So where is it? 927. 25 and 6 or 7. Right, that's the verse I was thinking. So Krishna makes it clear that he's equal to everyone, but still he's partial to his devotee. Means And Prabhupada explains it in purport. Just like a man may be disposed to all children, but he gives special attention to his children. Something like that. So when we become Krishna's men, so to speak, or Krishna's sold out servants, like animals sold out, that's the goal, to be just like this neck bead, just like a dog collar. We want to be seen like the Prabhupada's dog. I once had a dream like that. I was Prabhupada's dog, and he was sitting with all his godbrothers, and I was like rolling on the floor, and all the godbrothers were laughing at me. But I felt happy to be Prabhupada's dog. Sri Prabhupada Ki. Okay, who's reading next? Akrura, then thought. It's a small paragraph, so do too.
Akrura then thought, when Krishna and Balaram are pleased with my behavior, certainly they will take my hand, receive me within their home, and offer me all kinds of respectable hospitalities. And they will surely ask me about the activities of Kamsa and his friends. In this way, Akrura, the son of Shvabhalka, meditated on Sri Krishna on his journey from Mathura. He reached Vrindavan by the end of the day. Akrura passed the whole journey without knowing how long it took. When he reached Vrindavan, the sun was setting. As soon as he entered the boundary of Vrindavan, he saw the hoofprints of the cows of Lord Krishna's footprints, impressed with the signs of his soles, the flag, trident, thunderbolt, and lotus flower. The symbols on the soles of the Lord's transcendental lotus feet are worshipped by all the demigods and other great personalities throughout the three worlds. Upon seeing the footprints of Krishna, Akrura immediately jumped down from the chariot out of respect. He became overwhelmed with all the symptoms of ecstasy. He wept and his body trembled. Out of extreme jubilation upon seeing the dust touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, Akrura fell flat on his face and began to roll on the ground.
So there's a distinction that the third world. No doubt that Krishna will protect us. Okay, one more paragraph. Okay, go ahead.
Akrura's journey to Vrindavan is exemplary. One who intends to visit Vrindavan should follow the ideal footsteps of Akrura and always think of the pastimes and activities of the Lord. As soon as the one reaches the boundary of Vrindavan, he should immediately smear the dust of Vrindavan over his body without thinking of his material position and prestige. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in a celebrated song, Vishaya Chadiya Kabe Shudha Abhamana. When my mind will be purified after leaving the contamination of material sense enjoyment, I shall be able to visit Vrindavan. Actually, one cannot go to Vrindavan by purchasing a ticket. The process of going to Vrindavan is shown by Akrura. When Akrura entered Vrindavan, he saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in supervising the milking of the cows. Krishna was dressed in yellow garments and Balaram in bluish. Akrura also saw that their eyes were exactly like the beautiful lotus flower that grows during the autumn season. He saw Krishna and Balaram in the spring of their youth. Although they had the same bodily features, Krishna was blackish in complexion, whereas Balaram was whitish. Both were the shelter of the goddess of fortune. They had well-constructed bodies, beautiful hands and pleasing faces, and they were as strong as elephants. Now, after seeing their footprints marked with the flag, trident, thunderbolt, and lotus, Akrura actually saw Krishna and Balaram face to face. Although they were the most influential personalities, they were glancing at him with smiling faces. Akrura could understand that both Krishna and Balaram had returned from tending cows in the forest. They had taken their baths and were dressed with the fresh clothing and garlanded with flowers and with necklaces made of valuable jewels. Their bodies were smeared with the pulp of sandalwood. Akrura greatly appreciated the aroma of the flowers and sandalwood and their bodily presence. He considered himself very fortunate to see Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his planetary expansion, Balaram, face to face, for he knew that they were the original personalities of the creation.
Okay. Comments? Next. Read.
As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and the cause of all causes. Akrura could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had appeared personally for the welfare of his creation, to establish the principles of religion and to annihilate the demons. With their bodily effulgence, the brothers were dissipating all the darkness of the world as if they were mountains of sapphire and silver. Without hesitation, just like a rod, before Krishna and Balaram. Upon touching the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became overwhelmed with transcendental bliss. His voice choked up and he could not speak. Due to his transcendental pleasure, incessant torrents of tears fell from his eyes. He remained stunned in ecstasy, and as if devoid of all powers to see and speak. Lord Krishna, who is very kind to his devotees, raised Akrura with his hand and embraced him. It appeared that Lord Krishna was very much pleased with Akrura. Balaram also embraced Akrura. Then the two lords took him by the hand and brought him to the sitting room, where they offered him a nice sitting place and water for washing his feet. They also worshipped him with a suitable presentation of honey mixed with other ingredients. When Akrura was thus comfortably seated, Krishna and Balaram offered him a cow in charity and then brought very palatable dishes, and Akrura accepted them. When Akrura finished eating, Balaram gave him betel nuts and spices, as well as pulp of sandalwood, just to make him more pleased and comfortable. The Vedic system of receiving a guest was completely observed by Lord Krishna himself to teach all others how to receive the guest at home. It is a Vedic injunction that even if a guest is an enemy, he should be received so well that he does not apprehend any danger from the host. If the host is a poor man, he should at least offer a straw mat as a sitting place and a glass of water to drink. Krishna and Balaram welcomed Akrura in a way just befitting his exalted position.
You can finish the paragraph I took for it now. So just two more small paragraphs. You can read.
After Akrura was thus properly received and seated, Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Krishna, said, "My dear Akrura, what shall I inquire from you? I know that you are being protected by Kamsa, who is most cruel and demoniac. His protection is just like a slaughterhouse keeper's protection of animals. He will kill in the future. Kamsa is so selfish that he has killed the sons of his own sister. So how can I honestly believe that he is protecting the citizens of Mathura?" This statement is most significant. If the political or executive heads of the state are simply interested in themselves, they can never look after the welfare of the citizens. As Nanda Maharaj spoke to Akrura with pleasing words, Akrura forgot all the fatigue of his day's journey from Mathura to Vrindavan. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 38th chapter of Krishna, Akrura's arrival in Vrindavan.
Chapter 39.
Chapter 39.
Akrura's return journey and his vision of Krishna Loka in the river Yamuna. Who's going to read?
I can read one more paragraph. Akrura was warmly received by Lord Krishna and Nanda Maharaj and offered a resting place for the night. In the meantime, the two brothers Balaram and Krishna went to take their supper. Akrura sat on his bed and began to reflect that all the desires he had contemplated while coming from Mathura to Vrindavan had been fulfilled. Lord Krishna is the husband of the goddess of fortune. Being pleased with his pure devotion,
He can offer whatever the devotee desires. But the pure devotee does not ask anything from the Lord for his personal benefit.
After taking their supper, Krishna and Balarama came to bid good night to Akrura and asked him how Kamsa was dealing with their friends and relatives. Krishna then inquired into Kamsa's plans. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then informed Akrura that his presence was very welcome. He inquired from him whether all his relatives and friends were well and free from all kinds of ailments. Krishna stated that he was very sorry that his maternal uncle Kamsa was the head of the kingdom. He said that Kamsa was the greatest anomaly in the whole system of government and that they could not expect any welfare for the citizens while he ruled. Then Krishna said, "My father has undergone much tribulation simply from my being his son. For this reason, also he has lost many other sons. I think myself so unfortunate that myself so fortunate that you have come as my friend and relative. My dear uncle Akrura, please tell me the purpose of your coming to Vrindavan." After this inquiry, Akrura, who belonged to the dynasty of Yadu, explained the recent events in Mathura, including Kamsa's attempt to kill Vasudeva, the father of Krishna. He related the things which had happened after the disclosure by Narada that Krishna was the son of Vasudeva, hidden by Vasudeva in the house of Nanda Maharaja. Akrura narrated all the stories regarding Kamsa. He told how Narada had met Kamsa and how he himself was deputed by Kamsa to come to Vrindavana. Akrura explained to Krishna that Narada had told Kamsa all about Krishna's being transferred from Mathura to Vrindavana just after his birth and about his killing all the demons sent by Kamsa. Akrura then explained to Krishna the purpose of his coming to Vrindavana, to take him back to Mathura. After hearing of these arrangements, Balarama and Krishna, who are very expert in killing opponents, mildly laughed at the plans of Kamsa.
They immediately informed Nanda Maharaj that Kamsa had invited all the cowherd men and boys to go to Mathura to participate in a ceremony known as Dhanuryakhya. Kamsa wanted them all to go there to participate in the function. On Krishna's word, Nanda Maharaj at once called for the cowherd men and asked them to collect milk and all kinds of milk products to present to the king in the ceremony. He also sent instructions to the police chief of Vrindavan to tell all the inhabitants about Kamsa's great Dhanuryakhya function and invite them to join. Nanda Maharaj informed the cowherd men that they would start the next morning. They therefore arranged for the cows and the bulls to carry them all to Mathura. When the gopis heard that Akrura had come to take Krishna and Balaram away to Mathura, they became overwhelmed with anxiety. Some of them became so grieved that their face turned black, and they began to breathe warmly and had palpitations of the heart. They discovered that the hair and clothes immediately loosened. Hearing the news that Krishna and Balaram were leaving for Mathura, others who were engaged in household duties stopped working. It's like they have forgotten everything, like a person who's called for to die and leave this world at once. Others immediately fainted due to separation from Krishna. Remembering his attractive smile, his talks with them, the gopis became overwhelmed with grief. They all remembered the characteristics of the personality of Godhead, how he moved within the area of Vrindavan, and how, with joking words, he attracted all their hearts. Thinking of Krishna, of the imminent separation from him, the gopis assembled together with heavily beating hearts. They were completely absorbed in thought of Krishna, and with tears falling from their eyes, they spoke as follows.
Oh, Radhadesh, you are so cruel. It appears that you do not know how to show mercy to others. By your arrangement, friends contact one another, but before they can fulfill their desires, we separate them. This is exactly like a child's game that has no meaning. It is very abominable that you arrange to show us beautiful Krishna, whose bluish curling hair beautifies his broad forehead and sharp nose, and who is always smiling to minimize all the grief of this material world, and then arrange to separate him from us. O Providence, you are so cruel, but most astonishing, you appear now as a Krura, which means not cruel. In the beginning, we appreciated your workmanship in giving us these eyes to see the beautiful face of Krishna. But now, just like a foolish creature, you are taking away our eyes by not letting us see Krishna here anymore. Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is also very cruel. He must always have new friends. He does not like to keep friendship for a long time with anyone. We gopis of Vrindavan, having left our homes, friends and relatives, have become Krishna's maidservants, but he is neglecting us and going away. He does not even look upon us, although we are completely surrendered unto him. Now all the young girls in Mathura will have the opportunity. They are expecting Krishna's arrival, and they will enjoy his sweet smiling face and will drink its honey. Although we know that Krishna is very steady and determined, we are afraid that as soon as he sees the beautiful faces of the young girls in Mathura, he will forget himself. We fear he will become controlled by them and will forget us, for we are simple village girls. He will no longer be kind to us. We therefore do not expect Krishna to return to Vrindavan. He will not leave the company of the girls in Mathura. The gopis began to imagine the great functions in the city of Mathura. Krishna would pass through the streets, and the ladies and young girls in the city would see him from the balconies of their respective houses. Mathura city contains different communities, known then as Darsha, Boja, Andaka, and Satvata. All these communities were different branches of the same family in which Krishna appeared, namely the Yadu dynasty. They were all expecting the arrival of Krishna. It had already been ascertained that Krishna, who was the resting place of the goddess of fortune and the reservoir of all pleasure and gentle qualities, was going to visit Mathura city.
The gopis then began to condemn the activities of Akrura. They stated that he was taking Krishna, who was more dear than the dearest to them and who was the pleasure of their eyes. He was being taken from their side without their being informed or solaced by Akrura. Akrura should not have been so merciless, but should have taken compassion on them. The gopis went on to say, "The most astonishing feature is that Krishna, the son of Nanda, without consideration, has already seated himself on the chariot. From this, it appears that Krishna is not very intelligent, yet he may be very intelligent, but he is not very merciful. Not only Krishna, but all the coward men are so callous that they are already yoking the bulls and calves for the journey to Mathura. The elderly persons in Vrindavan are also merciless. They do not take out plight into consideration and stop Krishna's journey to Mathura. Even the demigods are very unkind to us. They are also not impeding his going to Mathura."
The gopis pray to the demigods to create some natural disturbance such as hurricane, storm or heavy rainfall, so that Krishna could not go to Mathura. They began to consider, despite our parents and guardians, we shall personally stop Krishna from going to Mathura. We have no alternative but to take this direct action. Everyone has gone against us to take away Krishna from our side. Without him, we cannot live for a moment. The gopis thus decided to obstruct the passage through which the chariot of Krishna was supposed to pass. They began to talk among themselves. Only a moment, engaged in the rasa dance of Krishna. We looked at his sweet smile and embraced him and talked with him. Now, how shall we live even for a moment if he goes away? At the end of the day, in the evening, along with his older brother, Balaram, Krishna would return home with his friends. His face would be smeared with the dust raised by the hooves of the cows, and he would smile and play on his flute and look upon us so kindly. How shall we be able to forget him? How shall we be able to forget Krishna, who is our life and soul? He has already taken away our hearts in so many ways throughout our days and nights, and if he goes away, there is no possibility of our continuing to live. Thinking like this, the gopis became more and more grief-stricken, and Krishna still in Vrindavan. They could not check their minds, and they began to cry loudly, calling the different names of Krishna. Oh dear Damodar, dear Madhav.
The gopis cried all night before the departure of Krishna. As soon as the sun rose, Krura finished his morning bath, got on the chariot and started for Mathura with Krishna and Balaram. Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men got up on bullock carts after loading them with big earthen pots filled with yogurt, milk, ghee and other milk products. And when they began to follow the chariot of Krishna and Balaram, in spite of Krishna's asking the gopis not to obstruct their way, they all surrounded the chariot and stood up to see Krishna with pitiable eyes. Krishna was very much affected upon seeing the plight of the gopis, but his duty was to start from Mathura, where this was foretold by Narad. Krishna therefore consoled the gopis. He told them that they should not be aggrieved. He was coming back very soon after finishing his business, but they could not be persuaded to disperse. The chariot, however, began to head west, and as it proceeded, the minds of the gopis followed it as far as possible. They watched the flag of the chariot as long as it was visible. Finally, they could see only the dust of the chariot in the distance. The gopis did not move from their places, but stood until the chariot could not be seen at all. They remained standing still, as if they were painted pictures. All the gopis decided that Krishna was not returning immediately, and with greatly disappointed hearts they returned to their respective homes. Being greatly disturbed by the absence of Krishna, they simply thought all day and night about his pastimes, and thus derived some consolation.
The Lord, accompanied by Krura and Balaram, travelled in the chariot with great speed towards the bank of Jamuna. Simply by taking a bath in the Jamuna, anyone can diminish the reactions of his sinful activities. Krishna and Balaram took their baths in the river and washed their faces. After drinking the transparent crystal clear water of the Jamuna, they took their seats again on the chariot. The chariot was standing underneath the shade of the big tree, and the two brothers sat down there. Aghura then took their permission to also take bath in the Jamuna. According to a Vedic ritual, after taking a bath in a river, one should stand at least half submerged and murmur the Gayatri mantra. While he was standing in the river, Aghura suddenly saw Balaram and Krishna in the water. He was surprised to see them there because he was confident that they were sitting on the chariot. Confused, he immediately came out of the water and went to see where the boys were. And he was very much surprised to see that they were sitting on the chariot as before. When he saw them on the chariot, he began to wonder whether he had mistakenly seen them in the water. He therefore went back to the river. This time he saw not only Balaram and Krishna there, but many of the demigods and all the Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas were all bowing down before the Lord. He also saw Lord Shiva, Sheshanaga, with thousands of hooves. Lord Sheshanaga was covered with blushing garments, and his necks were all white. The white necks of Sheshanaga appeared exactly like a snow-capped mountains. On the collide lap of Sheshanaga, Krishna was sitting very soberly, with four hands. His eyes were like the reddish petals of the lotus flower.
In other words, after returning to the Yamuna, Akrura saw Balarama turned into Sheshanaga and Krishna turned into Mahavishnu. He saw the four-handed Supreme Personality of Godhead smiling very beautifully. The Lord was very pleasing to all and was looking toward everyone with a merciful glance. He appeared beautiful with his raised nose, broad forehead, attractive ears, and reddish lips. His arms, reaching to the knees, were very strongly built. His shoulders were high, his chest was very broad, and his neck was shaped like a conch shell. His navel was very deep, and his abdomen was marked with three lines. His hips were broad and big, resembling those of a woman, and his thighs resembled the trunks of elephants. The other parts of his legs, the joints and lower extremities, were all very beautiful. The nails of his feet were dazzling, and his toes were as beautiful as the petals of the lotus flower. His helmet was decorated with very valuable jewels. There was a nice belt around his waist, and he wore a sacred thread across his broad chest. Bangles were on his hands and armlets on the upper portion of his arms. He wore bells on his ankles. He possessed dazzling beauty, and his palms were like lotus flowers. He was further beautified by the different emblems of Vishnu Murti, the conch shell, cloud disc, and lotus flower, which he held in his four hands. His chest was marked with the particular signs of Vishnu, and he wore fresh flower garments. All in all, he was very beautiful to look at. Akrura also saw his lordship surrounded by intimate associates like the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanat Kumara, and other associates like Sunanda and Nanda, as well as demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. The nine great learned sages were there, and also devotees like Prahalada, Narada, and the eight Vasus. All were engaged in offering prayers to the Lord with clean hearts and pure words. After seeing the transcendental personality of Godhead, Akrura immediately became overwhelmed with joy and great devotion, and all over his body there was transcendental shivering. Although for a moment he was bewildered, he retained his clear consciousness and bowed down his head before the Lord. With folded hands and faltering voice, he began to offer prayers to the Lord. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 39th chapter of Krishna entitled Akrura's Return Journey and His Vision of Vishnaloka within the Yamuna River.
Praised by Akrura. Akrura offered his prayers as follows. My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are the supreme cause of all causes and the origin, exhaustible personality Narayana. From your navel, lotus flower crowns, and from that lotus Brahma, the creator of the universe, is born. Since Brahma is the cause of this universe, you are the cause of all causes. The elements of this cosmic manifestation, earth, water, fire, air, ether, ego, and the total material energy as well as nature, the marginal energy, the living entities, the mind, the senses, the sense objects, and the demigods who control the affairs of the cosmos, are all produced from your body. You are the super soul of everything, but no one knows your transcendental form. Everyone within this material world is influenced by the moods of material nature. Even demigods like Lord Brahma, being covered by the influence of material nature, do not exactly know your transcendental existence beyond the cosmic manifestation of the three modes of material nature. Great sages and mystics worship you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original cause of all living entities, all cosmic manifestation, and all demigods. They worship you as all inclusive. All inclusive. Some of the learned Brahmanas also worship you by observing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. They offer different kinds of sacrifices in the names of different gods. And there are others also who are fond of worshipping transcendental knowledge. They are very peaceful, and after giving up all kinds of material activities, they engage in the sacrifice known as Jnana Yagya, the philosophical search for you.
Yeah, but there's only a little time. You like it.
It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that worship of demigods is also indirectly worship of the Supreme Lord. But such worship is not orthodox, because the worshipable Lord is the Supreme Personality of God in Narayan. Demigods such as Brahma and Shiva are incarnations of the material qualities, which are also emanations from the body of Narayan. Actually, there is no one existing before the creation except Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The worship of demigods is not on the same level as worship of Narayan. Now we got to finish this paragraph, this chapter. Okay. I'm just going to go. Oh, no, I lost it. Although the minds of those who are devotees of the demigods are fixed on a particular demigod, because you are the super soul of all living entities, including the demigods, worship of the demigods indirectly goes to you. Sometimes, after flowing down from the mountains during the rainy season, small rivers fail to reach the sea. Some reach the sea and some do not. Similarly, the worshippers of the demigods may or may not reach you. There is no guarantee. Their success depends on the strength of their worship. According to the Vedic principles, when a worshipper worships a particular demigod, he also conducts some ritual for Narayan, Yagishvara. For as it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, demigods cannot fulfill the desires of the worshippers without the sanction of Narayan or Krishna. The exact word used in the Bhagavad Gita is Mayaiva Vihitan Hi Tan, which means that the demigods can award some benediction after being authorized by the Supreme Lord. When a demigod worshipper comes to his senses, he can reason as follows. Demigods can offer benediction only after being empowered by the Supreme Lord. So why not worship the Supreme Lord directly? Such a worshipper of the demigods may come to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but others who take the demigods as all in all cannot reach the ultimate goal. Akura continued to pray. My dear Lord, the whole world is filled with the three material modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everyone within this material world is covered by these three modes, from Lord Brahma down to the non-moving plants and trees. My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are beyond the influence of the three modes. Except for you, everyone is being carried away by the ways of these modes. My dear Lord, fire is your mouth and earth is your feet. The sun is your eyes and the sky is your navel, and the directions are your ears. Space is your head and the demigods are your arms. The oceans and seas are your abdomen, and the wind and air are your strength and vitality. All the plants and herbs are the hairs of your body, and the clouds are the hairs on your head. The mountains are your bones and nails and nails. The days and nights are the blinking of your eyelids. Prajapati, the progenitor, is your genitals, and rains are your semen. Where we should stop?
This time, but the Bhajan people are not here, you just continue.
For the one lady that probably is not here. My dear Lord, all living entities including different grades of the demigods and different grades of the overlords, kings and other living entities are resting in you as part and parcel of one big unit, of the big unit. One cannot know you by experimental knowledge. One can simply understand your present existence to be like the great ocean in which different grades of living entities are included, or like the Udambara fruit, out of which small mosquitoes come. Wow. My dear Lord, whenever eternal forms and incarnations you accept, when you appear in this world, are meant for relieving the living entities of their ignorance, illusion, and lamentation. All people, therefore, can appreciate the incarnations and pastimes of your Lordship and eternally glorify your activities. No one can estimate how many forms and incarnations you have, nor can anyone estimate the number of universes that are existing within you. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the fish incarnation who appeared in the ocean of devastation. Although your Lordship is the cause of all causes, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Harigriva incarnation who killed the two demons, Madhu and Kaitava. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you who appeared as a gigantic tortoise that held up the great mountain Mandara, and who appeared as the boar that rescued the earth planet, which had fallen into the water of Govardhaka. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto your Lordship, who appeared as the Shingade, to deliver all kinds of devotees from the fearful condition of atheistic atrocities. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as Vamanadev and covered the three worlds simply by extending your lotus feet. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as the Lord of the Brigus, in order to kill all the infidel administrators of the world. And let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as Lord Rama to kill the demons like Ravana, who you are worshipped by all the devotees as the chief of the Raghu dynasty. Lord Ramachandra, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as Lord Vasudeva, the son, Lord Sankishan, and Lord Padumya, and Lord Aniruddha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appear as Lord Buddha to bewilder the atheists and the maniacs. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as Kalki to chastise the so-called royal order degraded to the abominable condition of malechas, who are below the jurisdiction of Vedic regular principles. I'm going to stop here. Prabhupada ki jai, Krishna Murti ki jai.
Swami ki jai.